Welcome back to another episode of the Arc Switch Survival Guide. I'm so glad you could all join us because today we are going hang gliding using one of the most neglected and little known dinosaurs in Ark. This is the Archaeopteryx, and it works as a shoulder-mounted pet that you can use as a hang glider, and it's pretty cool. You could technically fly all the way across the entire island from that volcano in the center and make it to any point on the map with unlimited stamina. Now, not a lot of people know how to tame an Archaeopteryx, and even less seem to know how to use one, but today we are going to tame two Archaeopteryx. We found a male and a female, both at the same tree, and we'll show you how to tame an Archaeopteryx in Ark and how to use them. There are some cool little features that they have, and they can actually collect tree sap from the redwoods on Wander, and a couple other little things we'll teach you about them. But this is part 3 of our 3-part quadruple tame that we've done in the redwoods. So at the end of this video, we will be heading back from the Redwood Mountain with our Argent Avis, Doedicurus, and 2 Archaeopteryx that we tamed during this 3-part series. So I hope you'll enjoy this whole episode. It will be lots of fun and very helpful. So, we are back in the middle of our quadruple tame in the Redwood Forest. Now, we have been taming up a Argent Avis at a very high level that we showed you how to trap at the top of this mountain. But, in the middle of that tame, we also are taming a Doedicurus that we found that was getting attacked by a Tyrannosaur, and we've managed to knock her out, but she's taking forever to tame up. So I grabbed some supplies from my raft fortress, and now she is doing pretty well taming up. She's got some good food to eat. But I grabbed a stack of chitin because I noticed while I was taming this Doedicurus that we had an opportunity that's just too good to pass up. There are 2 Archaeopteryx right here. There's a male and a female. They're really low level, which should be easy to tame, and they're both next to a redwood tree that's by itself. That is the most important part of why this tame is such a great opportunity. Now, if you want to tame an Archaeopteryx, the best thing to do is hit it with a bola. Now, if you hit it with a bola, it's immobilized for about 30 seconds, which is more than enough time for it to get tamed up. But if you miss, it will run away, freak out, and head right up the closest redwood tree that it can find. Now, Archaeopteryx can't really fly, they fall with style, and they will run up the tree, hover for a while, and then eventually come back down. But if there are other big redwood trees nearby, they might jump to the next redwood tree, and it may be extremely hard to catch them. But these two just happen to be so close to this tree that's the only big redwood tree nearby that they're only trying to escape up the trunk. And they're not getting very far, as you can see. They're actually sitting still, which makes them a perfect target for my trank arrows. Now, I highly recommend, if you're knocking out an Argent Avis, that you use trank darts instead of trank arrows, and you may even prefer a regular bow over a crossbow, because the crossbow does a little more damage, and they do not have a lot of health. I'm probably going to either kill or almost kill both of these guys when I'm shooting them. So, at this point, I don't really care too much because I'm not horribly dead set on getting a couple Archaeopteryx. They're not an incredible game changer, but it's a great opportunity if I happen to be able to tame them. So I'm waiting the full 10 seconds to let all of that torpidity go up. And there we go, we've knocked out both Archaeopteryx. Now, they run out of torpidity reasonably quickly, so it's a good thing I've got some biotoxin with me. Narcotics work just fine also, but they tame pretty quickly too, so as long as you stay close by and you defend them from any attacking dinosaurs, they're not too hard to actually tame once you knock them out. The only thing is, they only eat chitin. You cannot tame an Archaeopteryx with anything but chitin, and they will not eat anything but chitin. So if you don't have a good supply of chitin, don't even try to tame an Archaeopteryx, and you don't even want to keep one because it'll eat all of your chitin if you can't get a decent supply. Now I've got a ton of chitin back at my base because my frog has just been chewing up all the dragonflies, so that should not be a problem for me, and I'm happy to have a couple of Archaeopteryx. I'll probably even breed them a little bit because Archaeopteryx are just kind of fun. They're not one of those dinos that will change your life, but there are some cool tricks that we can do with them. So we already tamed up the lower level male, and he is already ready to be our friend. So I'm going to set him on passive, take him off of follow, and I'll probably have to put a little bit more biotoxin on the female just to make sure she doesn't wake up, because they'll wake up in a minute or two if you leave them alone. So check it out. We pick him up, and he is kind of like a shoulder-mounted pet, only we have to hold him in our hands. But this is the really crazy part. When you jump off of your mount or anything, you hover and you basically float like a little hang glider anywhere you want to go. Now, it can be a little nerve-wracking because you might slip off a cliff and fall off a mountain and all that stuff too. So you've got to be really careful and remember that you've got an Archaeopteryx in your inventory. And check it out, the female already finished taming up, and I mean, that only took like a minute or two, so that was a pretty good tame there. Now, she's a little bit higher level, and I prefer the female because she does lay eggs, so I'm going to run her back up to the top of the mountain pretty quickly because I do not want to lose either of these guys. Now, I've cleared out the huge pack of raptors and big tyrannosaur from this area, which is probably why there's nothing else dangerous around here. That T-Rex probably killed everything. He thought he killed my Doedicurus and then just walked off, lost interest, and then she came back up out of her little ball, and I was able to tame her up too. And check it out, our Argent Avis is finally done taming. But first, I've got to remember how to land this thing, because oh my gosh, I am floating all over the place. Check it out, I am holding onto this thing's legs, and it is trying so hard to fly, but it's only able to keep me barely aloft. So let me put this thing down. You can drop it by hitting the right trigger, or double tapping X or triangle on PS4 to throw it off your shoulder. It's kind of a shoulder mounted pet, but not really. It's kind of weird. So the Argent finished taming up at level 206, which was well worth the wait up here on this mountain. We also got some good dino tames in the middle of the process. So if you missed the video on how we actually trapped and tamed this level 206 Argent Avis, I highly recommend you go back and watch that. I'll put a link in the description. It was a really cool tame, and it's a very simple and easy to use trap that I showed you how to make. So now that we've got the Argent, our next priority is to run back down the mountain and get that male Archaeopteryx before something spawns in and kills him. Because even though that T-Rex cleared out most of the dinos on this mountain, they could be popping back up any second, and I definitely don't want to lose all of that hard work that I did to tame that Archaeopteryx. So let's see. I think he should be right around here. Okay, thank goodness he's still okay. So we're going to pick him up, and once again, he's going to be just like a shoulder-mounted pet. Now, having two Archaeopteryx is great because even though they'll eat twice as much chitin, which I'm not thrilled about, I can breed them, hatch the eggs, and then use the baby Archaeopteryx, once they're grown up, as mobile parachutes. And there's a lot of fun little uses that we'll use for that. There's also some cool tricks that I'll probably teach you in the near future, and you can actually cover the entire map, fly all the way across the island with just one jump using an Archaeopteryx. So that'll be pretty cool. But for now, I'm going to scout out, see if I can grab some meat, because we ran out of meat up here, and we'll be right back in a minute when that Doedicurus is finished taming up. And then I'll teach you everything you need to know about using an Archaeopteryx for hang gliding and collecting tree sap. So let's talk about hang gliding with an Archaeopteryx, because that's the main use for it. So I'm going to pick it up with X and then jump, and if I've got any kind of difference in the terrain, the Archaeopteryx will help me glide straight forward, and I can go a very long distance. Now, Archaeopteryx have unlimited stamina. They will never run out of stamina. They'll never drop you, at least as far as I know. I'm pretty sure about that, but definitely drop a comment if one has ever dropped and killed you. But I've never heard of that happening before. Now, you go at a very slow descent, but if you push forward, backward, left, and right, you can accelerate, decelerate, turn yourself in any direction. So you've got pretty good control. It's a sort of slow turn that you can do, but you can actually control yourself pretty well while you're in the air. You just descend very slowly, so you've got to have a little bit of patience when you're doing this. But the higher up you are when you jump, the further you'll fly, and you can go very, very long distances. I could probably make it from this mountain in the middle of the redwoods all the way to that green obelisk off in the distance without actually landing. So there's a lot of good uses for this, and pretty soon I'm going to build a base on that volcano crater up there, and if I've done that, I will actually be able to use an Archaeopteryx to fly all the way back to my plateau base across the island, even carrying a lot of supplies. You can carry enough weight that you are completely overloaded and unable to move with an Archaeopteryx, and it will still be able to carry you just fine. Whereas if you overload some dinos that are flying, they will use up so much stamina that they won't be able to make it very far if they're overweight. So that can be a really helpful thing with an Archaeopteryx if you've got a long way to go and you're heading mostly in a downward direction. But you do have to be really careful, because if you miss your landing, you could end up flying out and you may not be able to come back to a ledge fast enough. So you could put yourself in serious danger if you miss your landings with an Archaeopteryx. Now, when you're ready to land with an Archaeopteryx, you can hit the Y button if you're playing on Switch, or square button with PS4. The reload button will actually deactivate its gliding and let you float safely down. Or you can hit the right trigger to throw it off your shoulder, and you'll fall straight down without any help, and you could actually die if you do that from a height. So be sure not to hit the right trigger or double tap the X button, or you might drop your Archaeopteryx and fall to your death. Now, I'll teach you more cool tricks for using an Archaeopteryx in a minute, but first I'm going to pack up all my dinos and fly down from this mountain. So as you can see, we succeeded in taming our female Doedicurus and got her back up to the mountain after we did that. And she is just mining away, and I'm kind of worried because she's been a little glitchy while I was taming her, and now she's just whacking away at something. I can't even see what it is. But we'll see if she's actually able to collect stone, or if I just picked up a totally defective Doedicurus. I mostly want her for breeding anyway. Well, looks like she knocked something over, and she's got a ton of stone in her inventory. Great. So that's good to know. I was a little bit worried about this one. She's kind of a weird one. I mean, purple and orange is an awesome color combination, though, so when she has babies with my green and red Doedicurus, I can't wait to see what they look like. They're going to be crazy. So I am going to pack up all my dinos, and I'm picking up a little bit of crystal while I'm up here on the mountain, because this is actually one of the best places in the southern island to get crystal. There's a lot of it up on top of this mountain in the middle of the redwoods, and as long as your flyer can make it here in one flight without going in between any redwood trees, it's a great spot to get crystal. Now, my Argent actually reduces the weight of crystal by 50%, same with stone and wood, so I'm going to go ahead and bump up a little bit more weight on her. And I'm sorry, I now have a male Argent. So there we go, we should have no trouble carrying that along with everybody else. So I'm just going to pick up my Archaeopteryx here, and I will jump on my Argent in a second. I'm going to make my Tapehara follow me, and he's carrying a little bit of crystal too, so I don't get too overweight. Now I have one Archaeopteryx in my hands, but the Argent can carry the other one in his beak if I click down on the right stick, and that will leave its talons free to carry the Doedicurus if I hit the left trigger to pick that up too. And that way I can actually carry with one Argent Avis, myself, two Archaeopteryx, and one Doedicurus all at the same time, and it has enough stamina and weight to be able to carry everyone all the way back down to my raft. So now we're on our long flight across the redwoods from the middle of the redwoods on that mountain that I've been taming all these guys on. And once again, if you missed any of the tames during this quadruple tame I've been doing, check the links in the description. You can watch those videos. Now, I always stay high above the trees in the redwood forest, because if you go between the trees or below the top of the trees, a Thylacoleo is pretty likely to jump off the trees, fly about a block across the screen, and insta-kill you. Like, they will stun you, kill your bird, knock you out of the sky. I could lose everything I've tamed, so I definitely want to stay above the treetops when I'm near the redwoods. Now, we are going to land on my raft fortress here, here, which is, oh, there it is. It's kind of hard to see because it's parked in the middle of the swamp, but if you've got a fortress built on a raft, it's pretty easy to keep that safe in the swamp. So we've had it there for a while. I'll be moving it pretty soon and we'll go on some more adventures, but I will be right back. I'll drop off some of these dinos and then I'll teach you some more cool things that you can do with an Archaeopteryx, like collecting tree sap. Now, a lot of people have asked me what's the easiest way to get tree sap in Ark, and I have an entire video explaining my tree sap outpost that I built in the redwood forest, and you can see it right up here. I put an outpost on the edge of a redwood tree going up about 10 to 15 stories, and there is a sap tap attached to the tree, which is constantly draining tree sap and then placing it in its inventory. I built a base stretching all the way up to the sap tap from the ground, which was quite a bit of materials and work. But this little thing that I'm standing on is actually the roof of a tiny house, and inside the house, I have a sap tap, which allows me to get constant supplies of tree sap. It slowly fills up, and then I teleport here using the bed inside, and then I can just open up the inventory, grab 20 tree sap, which is the maximum it'll hold, and then I head back to wherever I was, and that way I can constantly increase the amount of tree sap in this little storage box down here. If I can finally get down, there we go. So if I open up this tree sap tap, I'll grab 20 tree sap, and then I can place it in the storage box, and then after I've stored up a ton of it, I just fly out here, pick it up, and then I've got hundreds of tree sap. And that's the method that I've been using. But I decided I want to leave my Tapehara here at the outpost in case I ever want to have a flyer near the redwoods. I can teleport here, fly him around, do whatever I want to. So you may have noticed if you've been watching this series for a while that I'm getting to be like a crazy cat lady for Tapeharas. I've been breeding tons of them, but the reason is I want to leave a lot of them out here at different outposts. Now, normally, if I wanted to leave my Tapehara there, I would have to climb down somehow, which I don't have a ladder, and run across the redwood floor, which is not a good idea. But because I have this Archaeopteryx, I can just base jump from that platform and float all the way down to my raft fortress. Now, you may notice that I am dropping incredibly slowly. I'm right above where I want to go, but I'm just stuck in the air, and I might have to wait a very long time before this thing finally loses enough altitude to get down to my raft fortress. Now, rather than just sitting here for 5 minutes while it slowly descends forever, I'm going to hit the reload button, which is Y on Switch, square on PS4, which is going to make him descend very quickly, but not so quickly that I'll fall to my death. If I were to double tap the X button or triangle, I could throw him off my shoulder. The right trigger also will do that, and that will make you fall straight down without any descent control, and from this height that would kill me, so I'm going to hit the Y button and slowly float down to my raft. Now, I've heard that if you hit the reload button again, it will actually make you start gliding again at the normal speed, but for some reason it doesn't work when I'm playing this on PC using the PS4 controller, and once again I record this series on PC because it has really good resolution, everything looks really good, but I'm still teaching you guys how to do everything as if it was on Switch, because unfortunately Arc Switch just doesn't do YouTube quality graphics, so this kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Now, if any of you are able to toggle between gliding and descending, please let me know, because I would love to know if that actually works on Switch like it's intended to. Now, probably my least favorite thing about the Archaeopteryx is it keeps you from climbing ladders, which is actually incredibly annoying because you could make a super high ladder, base jump with the Archaeopteryx, and fly all the way across the map from just about anywhere, so I kind of hate that you can't climb ladders with them. But if you jump on a flyer, you can still fly up in the air and land on a higher platform, so at least you can do that. So now we're going to grab everybody and fly back to the plateau base because I got all the supplies that I need and we've dropped off the Tapehara where I want him. So I'll tell you how to get tree sap with an Archaeopteryx while we are flying. Now I explained the very elaborate way that I use to get tree sap, which is a very constant supply. You get a ton of it, but it is a lot of work and effort to put it together. But if you can manage to get a Archaeopteryx tamed up in the redwoods, you can set it on wander, and as long as it's wandering, it'll pick up a tree sap every 5 to 10 minutes, which eventually will give you quite a lot of tree sap, and it just does that passively as long as it's wandering around. The downside is it tends to float and hover, and it can glitch in and out of railings, so you basically have to build a pretty solid wall around it if you want to keep it safe in the redwoods. Now some people just use a transponder node to keep track of it, give it a lot of HP, and then they'll just let it run around in the redwoods and hope that it doesn't die. Personally, I like to hedge my bets and be a little bit more careful, but I will teach you guys how to make transponder nodes pretty soon and be able to track your dinosaurs anywhere on the island, which is very helpful, so keep an eye out for that guide. But if you make a base in the redwoods, I'm not entirely sure if you have to have the Archaeopteryx actually able to touch the redwood tree, but as long as it's on wander in the redwoods, it will just keep collecting sap, and you can make even a very small stone hut in the redwood forests, and you should be able to get a lot of tree sap. Now, let me know if you have tried this, if you actually have to have the Archaeopteryx able to touch a redwood tree while it's on wander, because I'd love to know myself. But even if you have to make a wall all the way around the trunk of a redwood tree to let your Archaeopteryx run around and collect tree sap, it's still a lot more simple than building an entire base up in the trees to get the tree sap tap to work, and it's certainly a whole lot easier than making an entire treehouse platform up there. So if you're looking to get tree sap, that might be a good alternative, as long as you're comfortable living on the ground in the redwood forest. So we'll be right back, and I'll teach you one more helpful little trick about Archaeopteryx. And we're back. Now, I just noticed, this is pretty great, but I am parking my Argent Avis, and if you look at his beak, he looks like he just ate the other Archaeopteryx. Do you see that? I forgot to put down the Archaeopteryx, and he is just still faithfully holding him in his beak this whole time. So yeah, that was pretty horrifying. I think I'm gonna have to fix that real quick, because that male Archaeopteryx looks pretty uncomfortable just sitting in his beak, I'd say. So let me spit him out, and we'll bring him over here. Oh no, he's running away. He is terrified. Look at that. He's like, leave me alone. Oh, poor little guy. I think we traumatized our Archaeopteryx. So I'm going to use the right trigger to just toss him down, and it looks like he is always going to run away. Yep, he's terrified for life now. Sorry about that, little guy. So another cool little trick you can do with an Archaeopteryx is it's actually pretty helpful for carrying stuff. Now, I'm going to get myself overloaded here. Let me actually put a little bit of weight into this Argent Avis here. So if you put an item into the inventory of an Archaeopteryx, it does not count towards your weight. So like here, I am totally overloaded and I can't move, so I'm going to have to drop some stuff back off with the Argent Avis in order to carry it. Now you can increase the weight stat on an Archaeopteryx, and it never gets all that high. I mean, you may be able to get another 100 or 200 weight on that Archaeopteryx if you put a whole lot of stats into it. But the weight doesn't matter for an Archaeopteryx at all. It's totally weightless. It can carry you if you've got hundreds of pounds in your inventory, and it won't break a sweat, which is really nice. But it also works as a weightless backpack. So if you overload the Archaeopteryx so it's so overweight it can't even move, you can still pick it up even if it's got hundreds of pounds on it, and anything in the Archaeopteryx inventory does not count towards your weight. Once again, you can't put a lot in their inventory, but that is sort of helpful if you just need to carry a couple hundred more pounds and you don't know how to do it. They also make it real easy to cross terrain, because if you've got even a slight slope, even if you're moving pretty slowly, you'll be able to float above enemies, so it makes it just a little easier to carry things. Also, you can access their inventory if you're carrying an Archaeopteryx by looking straight up at the Archaeopteryx and pressing the Y or square button to access its inventory, just like a storage box. So it's kind of like a weightless storage box you carry above your head. So I hope this episode was really helpful. If it was, please give us a thumbs up. I'm sorry it was a little long, but this is a guide and Let's Play series, so I like to show you guys what I'm doing in my game and also teach you all kinds of cool stuff. So if you liked this video, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications, and it'll let you know when the next video comes out, which is usually every couple of days. We produce a whole lot of great content on this channel. And drop a comment, let me know if you use an Archaeopteryx, what you use it for, and if you have any cool tips for me that I can share with other people on how to use an Archaeopteryx. A lot of you guys know a lot about Ark, and I'm learning new things from all of you all the time. So if you have any questions, please drop a comment too. I always love fielding your questions about anything to do with Ark. Also, if you want to see more videos that I am in, my wife and I have a new YouTube channel called the Console Co-op Couple, and we would love it if you would jump over there and subscribe. That would help us out a lot. There's a link in the description and on the profile page of this channel, and I think you'll really enjoy that channel too. We have a lot of fun playing co-op games together. So until next time, I hope your Ark adventures are full of fun, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching this video from the Ark Survival Guide. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you more great guides like this one. Ark is an amazing game, but there is so much to learn before you can really enjoy it. We are dedicated to bringing you high-quality guides, tutorials, and Let's Play videos that are fun, helpful, clean, and suitable for the entire family. There's a tutorial in this series for everything we have done so far in this video. Check out these playlists for more episodes from this series and other guides to help you enjoy your journey on Ark.